68-64 is your score. Purdue with a nail-biter win over Oregon on Saturday. We probably did not do this Oregon team quite enough justice, given that we said we weren't sure if this game would be within double figures no matter what happened. And obviously that was not true. Nate Biddle was healthy, and we famously said he would not be playing for this game. So shout out another point in the Boilermaker breakdown for real journalism. We 100% accurate here, but that was a miss from us. There were some interesting three big lineups that were played a lot. Sean Stewart, Kwame Evans, and Nate Biddle all played at least 29 minutes total. Gave Purdue some trouble. This is a game that Purdue was down late and needed some heroic moments from Fletch, but didn't get a whole lot from everybody else other than Trey Kaufman-Renn. What did you see in this game? What did you see in this matchup? How was Oregon able to keep it this close?
Yeah, in the preview, we said that in our defense, Oregon won't be able to keep it within double digits no matter what. We really didn't think the no matter what could ever include Nate Biddle playing. So shout out us, like you said. Biddle was the best player in this game. He was phenomenal. The rest of Oregon's front court didn't do a whole lot. Now, I do think the size they had bothered Purdue defensively. Purdue's offense struggled against some of those three big lineups. They missed some bunnies in the paint they usually make. Just had a lot more turnovers than usual. I think the story of this game for Oregon is Nate Biddle. 23 points, 5 rebounds. Didn't turn the ball over. Only 6 for 14 from the floor, but he got to the free throw line 14 times, made 10 of them. Really put a lot of rim pressure on Purdue's bigs and even their guards based on the switching defense that Purdue was playing to try and avoid giving him open looks from three. A little bit of like the UCLA defensive approach, try and prevent Bilodeau from teeing off from three, was used on Biddle. He really made Purdue's defense work, and they didn't respond as well as I would have hoped.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even think it was that bad of a defensive game. I think this was a really, really sloppy offensive game. I mean, you hold Oregon to under a point per possession. This isn't a good offense. That's not exactly a great mark, but at the end of the day, if you're holding a team under a point per possession and you have an offense like Purdue's, you should expect to win that game pretty comfortably, I think. And the story of the game was that Purdue is at 1.03 points per possession this game offensively. They shot 28% from three. They only made 1 3 that wasn't taken by Fletcher Loyer or Braden Smith, and they were two for 14 on non-Fletcher Loyer 3-point attempts in this game. And that's just, I mean, that was kind of that combined with 14 turnovers to 15 assists is the story of this game. I mean, they didn't take care of the basketball and they didn't make shots. And I think when you do those two things, like, you're not going to have a good offensive performance. And that's just a very odd thing to see in the Braden Smith era.
Yeah, Purdue's offense was the Oregon's defense, provide a ton of ball pressure, and they had the size in the paint to bother Purdue's bigs. Smith had 6 turnovers. He had 7 points like right away in this game, and then didn't really do a whole lot the rest of the way. Only 4 assists to 6 turnovers. Positive, I thought Trey Kaufman-Renn was really nailed the triple double watch. For Trey, I think he finished the first half of like 8, 4, and 4. Very much on like the triple double trajectory, and then no one could make a 3 in the second half, and he didn't get any more assists. But Oregon was putting pressure on Braden. He was getting the ball to Fletch in the short roll on the post, and then they were often showing 2 bodies to Trey, and he was making a lot of smart reads and some cross court passes or quick kickouts. I thought Purdue's ball movement was pretty good, if sloppy at times, as you'd expect, 14 turnovers. And Purdue did out-rebound Oregon, but only by 4. A lot of those rebounds came in the last couple of minutes of the game when Oregon went 7 straight possessions without scoring, had some good looks in a lot of those possessions and just missed shots. You and I got on here and talked about Sean Stewart and Kwame Evans potentially being major issues for Purdue. They combined for only 9 points, but they did have 14 rebounds and 5 steals between them. Again, this was like a big defensive game for Oregon's front court, and I was really impressed with Takai Simpkins on both ends of the floor. I thought he provided a ton of pressure on Braden. He took on the Braden Smith assignment defensively and made his life a lot harder than maybe he was expecting Oregon to make it. And then offensively, I mean, he only went 6 for 13 from the floor, but he had 14 points, three assists, 3 rebounds, 4 steals. He was really, really good in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I think the athleticism and physicality bothered Purdue quite a bit in this game, and that was part of why you saw the turnover numbers. I mean, the lineup Oregon really went to down the stretch was Wei Lin, Takai Simpkins, then the three bigs, and that lineup is 6'4", 6'5", 6'9", 6'10", and 7 foot, and I think that caused Purdue a lot of issues because not only were they big, they were pretty athletic too, and it caused a lot of issues for Purdue. They didn't take care of the ball that well. But credit to Trakoff and Wren. Like I think this is kind of getting lost in the last couple of games, but he's quietly had a couple of really good games, I think, because he's just played his role. Like he's settling into his role. There was that stretch of games where he just wasn't playing very well. He had a couple of weird moments. It felt like he was trying to embody toughness and didn't really know how to do it, and trying to be like a do it all garbage man kind of guy, lunch pail guy for this team. And this is what that looks like, I think. And he was a big reason why Purdue was able to get those stops in the end because, I mean, it wasn't the greatest defensive possessions, but off of the missed shots, there were several bounces that we've seen, especially in the last few games, end up as offensive rebounds where Trey just came down with a really big grown man rebound. And like, there was one where he went up with, he was able to hold off. I think it was Sean Stewart, held him off on his back and came down with a really, really strong one-handed rebound. And it was just one of those moments that it was like him settling the team down and saying, don't worry, I got us. Like, I'll rebound it. Don't worry. We forced the miss. We'll get out of here. We'll go down and we'll go, eventually we'll hit a couple shots, and they did, and we're able to win the game. And, I think that you also saw them turn to Trey offensively down the stretch. I mean, there were some very intentionally designed Trey just one-on-one post touches. And, I think getting him to be back to being this All-American level 4 would do wonders for this team right now. And I think that's what the coaching staff is realizing.
Yeah, this was a really good Trey game. Like I said, 12, 8, and 4 with a steal as well. Just exactly what you're looking for. And we'll have a Nebraska preview, which is the next game for Purdue on Tuesday night. We'll have a Nebraska preview up on the channel shortly after this video goes up, and it'll be more of the same. Like I think his role is going to be very similar in that game, where he's going to be asked to be a playmaker as much as he's a scorer. And Purdue went 5 for 18 from 3, which is why he didn't maybe have as many assists as he could have, but he kept the ball moving and he did his job. So I was really impressed with Trey in this game. And then you mentioned Fletch, 18 points on 7 shots. 4 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal. I did have a couple of turnovers, including one of the worst turnovers I've ever seen, where he passed it behind his back to no one when he got in trouble on a fast break opportunity and tried to go 3-on-1. Assumed someone was behind him. They were not, and just dropped it off in the middle of the floor for Oregon to pick up. And that was off of a Braden Smith steal and pass ahead. So maybe got a little over eager to score in transition there, which was a bit of a story in this game of some Purdue mistakes, keeping Oregon in the game in the first half and really letting them stick around to be able to go on a run in the second half and take the lead late. After Purdue had been in the lead, with like a 6 to 8 point lead for most of the game. And this was a 2 or 3 possession game for the majority of it. And then Purdue missed a couple shots. Oregon makes a couple shots, and all of a sudden they're down with a couple minutes left and they have to make some plays, including the go-ahead 3 by Fletcher Loyer to really seal the game late with under a minute left. Takai Simpkins slipped trying to execute a switch, and that's all the space Fletch needed to drain one off the dribble. And without those 2 guys, Fletcher Loyer, Trey Koppenren really carried a Purdue team that wasn't playing that well.
Yeah, and I mean, this was a good Fletch defense game too. Thought he had some moments defensively where Oregon tried to really attack him, and he held up and was able to kind of avoid being taken advantage of. I mean, this was all in all, I think, one of the better Fletch games. And I think this was a great response by both Fletcher and Trey Kaufman-Renn to a lot of the criticisms of those 2 specifically. And that like I think there was this level of down the stretch of the last few games where Purdue struggled. It's been a lot of like, Braden's playing very well right now, and he's playing very hard, and it's almost like it's there was a lot of focus on Fletcher and Trey Kaufman-Renn for not being great defenders and great rebounders and things like that. And the last couple of games have felt like a response from those two, and not just in that like they're playing a little bit better offensively, but they're doing the little things. It feels like they're back to the guys that we saw earlier in the year, and I thought it was really important to see Fletch get in there and grab the rebound at the end to hit the game-sealing free throws with the wherewithal that Daniel Jacobson and Oscar Clough were the two bigs rebounding. And, a Fletcher Lawyer free throw attempt is a much better shot than an Oscar Clough or a Daniel Jacobson free throw attempt. And he did a good job of getting in there and grabbing that last rebound to seal the game. I mean, just smart heads-up plays like that are plays that Fletch is known for making. And I mean, those two were the best two players on the floor pretty clearly for Purdue, I think, for large stretches of this game. And that's partially because Braden wasn't great, but the other two were fantastic, I thought.
Yeah, we're not going to spend too much time going player by player in this game, other than, Purdue's lethargy on offense and sort of mistake filled basketball. I don't think there's a whole lot more to say on this game, but I did want to talk a little bit about Daniel Jacobson, who, after a great game against Maryland, had another great game against Oregon, 9 points on 3 shots, 3 for 3 from the line, 4 rebounds as well. Did not miss either a field goal or a free throw. This was about as flawless a Jacobson game as you can get. Didn't have any blocks, but only 2 fouls. And we came on here after the Maryland game and, gave him his props, but also said, like, this is probably the worst front court in the Big Ten without Payne in the lineup. So, take that for what it's worth. We'd seen Jacobson struggle against some of the more physical teams Purdue had played recently, like Illinois and UCLA, and even an Indiana team that's pretty good, but not necessarily physical. But this Oregon front court is the strength of their team, and it's when Biddle's in the lineup, it is a top half of the league at least front court, and Jacobson held up. Clough struggled in this game, but Jacobson in 20 minutes, 9 and 4, didn't look out of place, finished well, got to the line, made his shots, grabbed some key rebounds. He wasn't really getting pushed around by guys. Now, Stewart and Evans aren't the biggest guys, but they were very strong and athletic, and Jacobson really held his own against all 3 of those guys.
I mean, we talked about it in the preview. The one redeeming quality about this Oregon team is how hard they crash the offensive glass. I mean, they're a very good offensive rebounding team, and for what it's worth, in identical minute splits, Daniel Jacobson had 4 defensive rebounds to Oscar Clough's 1, and I thought it was noticeable. I mean, I thought he battled on the glass. I mean, he was not a dominant rebounder, or maybe not even a good rebounder, but he was a competent rebounder, and he battled on the glass and was physical, and he pulled down 4 rebounds, and I think that's kind of what you ask of Jacobson in 20 minutes, and he delivered. And I do think when he's on the floor, he gives you a level of rim protection that you don't have for Oscar Clough. And I think Daniel Jacobson might be a key to Purdue's season down the stretch. And I mean, if they unlock kind of this level of player as the floor, and you get this performance consistently from Daniel Jacobson, I think he's a little bit of a different player and gives this Purdue team a little bit of a defensive look different look, because he has some real ability on the defensive end to block and alter shots at the rim.
Yeah, I wouldn't describe him as a super mobile player, but he's a little bit more mobile than Clough, better able to execute those hedges and switches more consistently if Purdue's going to try that defense. And I mean, he's a good rim protector. And if he's able to hold up rebounding wise and not get pushed around on the offensive end, then he can be a real piece for Purdue. You mentioned he could be a key for them kind of down the stretch of the season. It was just a couple of recaps ago. We were questioning if he should be kind of out of the rotation altogether, which great response from Jacobson after some tough games. And B, maybe it kind of shows where this Purdue front court is right now. They're really searching for answers from anyone outside of Trey Kaufman-Renn that can provide consistent production. And maybe that kind of takes us to Oscar Clough, who was, I think, pretty clearly the worst Purdue player in this game. He matched Jacobson's 20 minutes, 3 points, 2 rebounds, 2 turnovers, 1 for 3 from the floor, 1 for 2 from the line, just 2 rebounds, which is the offensive stuff is nice. And he's still averaging almost 11 points a game. on this season, right? So even in his down scoring days, like there's going to be times when the defense is covering him differently and he gets lots of easy looks around the rim. That's kind of what he's there for offensively. But the rebounding concerns, I think, are starting to be real. This is a stretch that he's down. There was a time in the season where he was averaging around 10 rebounds a game. He's down to about 7. And recently, his recent game logs are pretty brutal in the rebounding department, despite ample opportunity to grab boards. Now, part of that is what Purdue's asked him to do defensively. He's, just by the nature of him hedging high and switching, he's just not around the rim as much as he was early in the season. And when that's the case, there's just fewer rebounding opportunities. So I don't think this is entirely Clough just forgot how to rebound, but it is concerning. He's getting out muscled at times. He's not boxing out. He's losing track of the ball and just isn't playing as well as he was earlier in the season.
Yeah, I mean, he just over his last few games has not been the level of rebounder that Purdue needs him to be. And when he's doing that, I mean, I think he's pretty clearly the loudest defensive liability, I think, on the floor at times because teams have realized you can attack him in ball screen action, and that's the easiest action, I think, for college teams to run in this day and age. I mean, there are few actions are ran more than a ball screen at younger levels for good basketball players, and so with that being said, like a lot of guys know how to operate in a simple ball screen action, and unfortunately for Oscar Clough right now, he's been unable to guard it, and it's pulled him away from the rim and really hurt his rebounding numbers. I think like it's kind of a double-edged sword. I mean, they're both sides of the sword are hurting him right now, and I'm not sure if it's gonna get better. I mean, some part of it is he needs to just play a little bit better, but as of right now, you're getting first level production from him from a guy that was supposed to be a major upgrade.
Yeah, but when Clough was playing like this, he basically is a less mobile Caleb First, which is a worse defensive lineup, and even at his worst, he's a better finisher around the rim than the first ever was. A much better. He's shooting over almost like 75% from the floor on the season, but the volume isn't high enough for that to make a huge impact game to game. So it's just a bit of a question mark, I think, if he can bounce back, and Purdue will be looking for him to do that. And there's a big game against Nebraska coming up. We'll have a preview out for that game shortly, so stay tuned to the channel for that. It's going to be a big challenge for Clough in that game. Nebraska's offense is going to challenge him in ways that Oregon and UCLA and Illinois and Indiana have recently, and we'll see if he's able to produce better, if Purdue's going to put him in better positions. But unless you have anything else, I think that'll about do it for us on the Oregon recap.
Yeah, I mean, to wrap this up, I think largely this game was somewhat lethargic. It was kind of a bad performance from Purdue, but like we talk about in the preview, I mean, this Oregon team is really, really bad. And Purdue, I think, got away with a little bit of playing as poorly as they did, but this is a Purdue stinker, and I think it's certainly notable that they were able to find a way to win and kind of etch out a win in ways other than making shots in a way I don't think they've been able to in the past. And I think credit to Trey Kaufman-Renn and Fletcher Lawyer for finding some things down the stretch because they were huge. And I think you got a little bit of an uncharacteristic second half from Braden, and I don't really think it's fair to expect that to continue going forward. I mean, he's too good of a player to not respond with a better half than that. So, but other than that, I think that's about all I've got. I mean, this was very sleepy game for Purdue. So be sure to stay tuned for that Nebraska preview. Hopefully we keep this winning streak going a little bit. It's 2 games now. We can call it a streak, I think officially. Go into Lincoln and make it 3, and we can really stamp it as official, and I'll be happy with that. So thanks for listening, everyone.